Good morning. Maybe it's not morning. I don't know what time you're watching this. For me, this is morning. So good morning. Also, if you can tell by the swivel, I've had a fair amount of coffee already today. So we are going to jump right into it. I am ready to come at you today with some wisdom around one-on-ones. Um, Hopefully, your one on ones are happening throughout the year and you are getting some really great feedback from your manager and you're providing them with what you need and with what you're looking for from a development plan standpoint. But if you don't have them on a regular basis, then this is typically the time of year that leaders start scrambling to make sure that they're having them because it's right around review time, right? So whether you have your performance review in December or January, or sometimes they're written in January, so they have a full year of information to go off of and then delivered in February. That's probably the most common from what I've seen. But either way, this is about the time that those leaders who maybe haven't been having them throughout the year go, oh no, we should start doing some one-on-ones so that we're ready for that performance review. So I wanted to make sure that you were getting this info now so that it was super timely for you and you were able to implement and go into those one-on-ones with the right plan and the right strategy. And I say the right plan and the right strategy because I don't know how many people I've talked to or worked with or managed or coached or mentored or whatever who have said, sure, I have one-on-ones, sometimes regularly, sometimes sporadically. That's where my boss tells me what I need to do, right? That's where I go in and they share with me all the things that I'm doing wrong or doing right and what they need to see more of. No, that should be happening, continuously. You should be having those conversations super regularly with your boss where they understand the KPIs and the objectives and all of the things, and they're providing you regular feedback or a means for you to get your own feedback. Maybe you have access to all of that data, but that should be happening consistently, if not constantly, so that you know where you stand. What your one-on-one should be for is for you. This is your time, friends. This is your opportunity to bring this information forward to your boss of what your plans are, your hopes are, what you're struggling with, where you need help, how they can better assist you, how they can better lead and manage you. This is your time for that. You don't always get a lot of meetings where you have the floor, but that is how I want you to think of your one-on-ones. The mic is in front of you. You are at the lectern. You are telling them. And yes, they will have responses. Yes, they will have solutions and suggestions and maybe some feedback on where you could go left or right instead. But it starts with you. These are yours. If you disagree, feel free to reach out. Send me a DM on Instagram at Her and Kelly. But come on, guys, you know that the point is for you to drive these meetings. And if your boss or your supervisor doesn't seem to think so, or they aren't really giving you as much opportunity to lead in these meetings, this is an opportunity for you to coach up and to take control of those meetings so that you are getting what you need out of them. So here we go. I want you to do two, maybe three things in these meetings. All right. And hopefully they are 30 minutes, maybe an hour long, at least every few weeks, maybe every month, depending on how much you guys talk in between. But that should be pretty simple, right? You get the opportunity to do at least two things, maybe three, depending on what your goal is right now. So the first thing that I want you to do is communicate your wins and losses, probably in that order, to be honest. Go into your one prepared, written down, ready to share what successes you've had since the last time you talked and where haven't gone well. And I know that people will have a tendency to downplay their wins. So there's this expectation of, well, I'm supposed to do that. Sure, I completed all of my work. Sure, I communicated well with so and so. I'm supposed to do that. Yep, you are. But you still need to share it. You still need to communicate that with your boss so that they're aware of all of the great things that you're doing. And if you're going above and beyond, by all means, share that too. But don't discount the work that you're supposed to be doing. It's still a win when it happens on time or sooner than anticipated, on budget, or, whatever the parameters of the work was. Share when it goes well. Share those wins. And then on the flip side, share the losses too. If you are behind on a project or it's looking like it might go longer or it might cost more or it might require more hands on deck, or maybe we're past might, maybe you are certain that you need help or that things are going way off kilter, bring them into that. Now, I don't want you to wait to share those opportunities or risks or whatever you want to call them, those losses. I don't want you to wait. If you know that prior to the meeting, do share that with them, but that is certainly something for you to bring up during your one-on-one. Your wins and losses are so important. And, there's some psychology around how many to share and what sort of, way to phrase them and all of that. But don't worry about that. Don't let that stop you from doing this in the first place. If you haven't been sharing your wins and losses, make sure that you start. Use your one-on-ones to start sharing that information. I also want you to share your solutions and your requests. And that'll probably flow pretty naturally, right? So you're going to be sitting in your one-on-one and saying, this over here went really, really well. I'm super proud of it. We're excited about it. This is going to have a great result and a great payoff. This thing could have gone better. Maybe I didn't have as much time, or there was some PTO, or we just underestimated the amount of work that this was going to be. Maybe there was a competing priority that got thrown in there, but this thing is either at risk or off the rails, and this is going to need some help. Your solutions and your requests that are going to follow that are going to be directly tied to those losses. So your solution might be, I really think it'll be important that we get some overtime approved. Or I would really appreciate it if you could see if there's other people who could assist with this project. Or is it possible to get an extension? Or I understand that this is going off the rails a little bit. I don't think it's our top priority. So help me understand if I should be setting some of these things over here down so that I can focus on it. All right. So come with a solution. They don't have to agree with you. They might have a totally different idea in mind. And honestly, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. What matters is that you came with an idea that could support the loss or the opportunity or the risk, whatever that was. All right. And then that'll just kind of naturally flow into the request. So you kind of heard them get melded together there, and that's okay. Maybe your solution is we really need more help, and your request is there overtime that you would be able to approve? Or maybe it's your solution is I just don't think this is the biggest priority. Am I right? And your request is, could you help me reprioritize these tasks if it is super important that I get this thing done? Okay, so those are the two biggest things, and you own that entire part of the meeting. Okay, your boss obviously is going to jump in and you'll have some open dialogue as you walk through those two main things, your wins and losses and your solutions and requests. They're going to you during that whole time, and they'll have pieces to add to it. All right. So I don't want you to feel like you're going into this 30-minute meeting and it's just you talking for 30 minutes. That's not what I mean. When I say the mic is in front of you, I don't mean that you have to fill up the entire time. I mean that you lead the discussion for the bulk of the time. Now, like I said, there's a third piece depending on what your goals are. So one option is you could, at this point, once you have done those two things, wins and losses and solutions and requests, once you've done those things, you could just say, that's what I have on my list. Is there anything on yours that you'd like to share with me? And then you're handing the meeting over to them. You're giving them the opportunity to take control of that meeting. Still will be a conversation, still will be a back and forth dialogue, but they then kind of take the ball and own it, right? Totally acceptable. At that point, if it's a 30-minute meeting, you're probably at least halfway through, if not 3/4 through, based on what you talked about in the beginning. Okay. So that's totally acceptable. A great use of a one-on-one. That right there. And maybe they don't have anything, or maybe you already covered it in your wins and losses and solutions and requests. Maybe you did that already and you get done early. Cool beans. You're both happy. Everybody goes away a winner. And you look really prepared and ready to take on the next challenge because you went through things that way. All right. Uh, Now, if you want to take the next step, if you're at a point in your career that you're like, you know what, I want to be working towards a promotion, or I'm ready for that next promotion. I'm ready for that next step in my career, whether that's up or kitty corner, sideways, whatever it is, I'm ready for that next challenge. I want you to ask them what they need. So if you're sitting in that meeting, you've already gone through your wins and losses, you've already gone through your solutions and requests. Instead of asking them what's on their list, because they can certainly segue into their list from this question, so you don't have to ask them. Instead of asking them what's on their list, you can say, is there anything that I can do to help make your job easier? Is there anything that I can do to help make your job easier? Is there any work that I can take on that would normally be done at your level? That's sort of what you're saying when you say, is there anything that I can do to help you and help make your job easier? You're basically asking, if you're looking towards that supervisor role, or you're looking towards that manager role, or whatever that next step is above you, you're saying, can I start doing some of that work now? Can I take some of that off of your plate? And that does a couple of things. One, it shows them your interest. So even if they think you're not ready, which is possible, you may not be, or even if they have some sort of control issue and they don't want to hand it to you, at the very least, you're showing them that you have a desire to take that next step, to take on more responsibility. Okay. It also shows that you have empathy for the amount of work that's in their role. And who doesn't appreciate getting a little empathy for the amount of work that is taken within a position? All right. You don't have to be in a leadership spot to appreciate that. So I guess that's a tip for any conversation you're having with someone. If you want to end any conversation with someone at work, a friend, at church, in your community, whoever, with, is there anything that I can do to make your life easier? Everyone will be happy. Use that everywhere. Now, if you wanted to take a different step with your career, you want to include them in the conversation to help you get to that next step. It just isn't this way, it's out here, or this, whatever, anywhere that isn't directly up to your manager level. Then let them know, I really would like to understand a little bit more about X position, about the analyst role, about the other department leadership role, about whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You say, I would really like to learn more about that role. Do you have any connections that could help me provide some value over there? Do you have any connections that could help me provide some value over there? So again, you're showing respect for what they know and what they do, your supervisor, your manager, because you're asking them what connections they have. You're also, again, making it known that you want that next step. You are ready to go on and start taking on more responsibility. All right. If you want to learn more about taking the next step, I'm going to put a link in the notes of this video. I have a great resource on how to take the next step in your career, whether that's up, kitty corner, sideways, whatever it is. Um, I have a great resource for you. So I'll put that link in the notes of this episode. Um, but really, the most important things here is I want you to understand those two, maybe three points for handling your one on one. Share your wins and losses, share your solutions and your requests, and ask what you can do to make someone's life easier, whether it's your boss or someone else. Ask what you can do. All right, friends, that is all for this episode. I would really encourage you, if you've learned anything, if you think this would be helpful for other people, like, share, subscribe, write a review, anything you can do that will share this with more people and help get the word out about different ways that you can lead in your career and in your organization, I would surely appreciate. And go over to kellyhearn.com and you can learn more about how we can work together. All right, guys, thanks so much.